All right, welcome back. Well, welcome to the epilogue. I shouldn't say welcome back to the war like I normally do because, well, the war is over. Which, as a quick reminder, in case you maybe misclicked, this is the epilogue episode for the campaign here. So there's not going to be any battles. The last episode, which I think would probably be episode 41, was actually the last episode. So there's not going to be any battles. There's not going to be any further movement here on the campaign. Like I mentioned in that episode, this is just going to be map reveals, and we're going to go back through some old saves and do map reveals there to see how the campaign progressed, both from my perspective and from the AI's. And then just some other discussions about like how I recruited my armies and how I built up my economy, how I developed my settlements, the sorts of things that I don't discuss in the normal episodes, just because I don't think it's very interesting to show on video. I very much prefer the battles, both actually from a gameplay perspective and from a, video perspective as well. Not that I dislike the campaign. I don't want anyone to get the impression that I think the campaign map is like pointless or I don't like it or anything like that. I do in, the vanilla games and, the mods that I've played, the couple mods that I've played, I should say. But the battles are the best. The battles are the best. So, anyway, we are exactly where we left off, except for I think I destroyed... Yes, I did destroy, the buildings at Worm Cove and Thorsigsborg. And started building up new buildings, even though, again, we're not going to go to the next turn. It's just, I leave everything as it would be, as if I was going to pick up the campaign again, even though I know I'm not going to. And never will. Ever. Never, ever. It's never going to happen. So... Anyway, let's go ahead and let's do the map reveal right now. Oh, I need to do it twice. All right, so we've revealed the map. So let's see how to begin this. Well, I guess I'll start in the north here and go south through my own territory. Then we'll go through the Haradrim, through Mordor, Gondor, up in the north up here, and then probably go back down south again in the center because I think the map's big enough that we can't see it all in one go like that. So let's just start up here. Obviously, there's not really much to say, because you guys would have seen it. I did spy this settlement here, but it looks like there's actually a few rebel settlements over here that we could still take. And then these are I think these settlements are needed for like scripts, or I say settlements. Some of them are just armies, but... I think this is all needed for like scripting and stuff up there, but I think this is the last settlement over here that we could take. And then after that, it's all that stuff up there. And so here's our territory down here. Here's more brave mercenaries being sent to the front line. That will never make it.
My liege.
Still have Uldor here. Oh. Did I? Okay, I did replenish those guys. See, there was a small rebel force that showed up here just outside of Ara, and I had Uldor and the slaves just attack it, and I sort of... many slaves lost their lives, just basically throwing themselves at the enemy just to hold them in place so that Uldor could then kill them. But then I did replenish them, I just realized once we got back there. Oh, one thing I did want to actually point out was the many famous battle markers as we go through here, because obviously we have this one here. Quite recent, Ulwarth defeating Captain Ginnar from Erebor, and this was the army that was commanded by Thorin, the coward, before he was killed in the trees of Mirkwood. And we have this one here, once again, Ulwarth killing Captain Groen. Just killing him as we were... He was approaching... I think that was just after Erebor had fallen, and he was approaching here, and Ulwarth took him out as well. We then have what I think it must be a couple of famous battle markers, or at least probably, because Ulasil fought a couple of battles here on the bridge against the elves that were more or less the same size, and he fought like another battle up there on that bridge too. Crushing the elves, though he died in like the very last battle we fought with the elves. And Ulasil was also the one who had... conquered, what's it called? Khand down here, and got the Variags on our side. Well, in a manner of speaking. Because, I mean, I guess if I wanted to, I could have probably just had Maldim. Like, let's say I conquer Mataram, which I think was a rebel settlement at the time. And then I just have Maldim, like, stand within their territory. He probably could have just completely recruited, like, Variags, you know, as he's been doing for the whole campaign, without having to actually conquer any further south. Oh, except for... No, wait. Oh, it doesn't say it here anymore, but I think Amu Kand was actually one we did have to take in order to meet the victory condition. So I guess we would have had to go a little further south. But yes, Ulasil, the Variag conqueror. And he died here. And of course, we renamed Dale in his honor after his unfortunate death. Hey, who was this? Oh, another famous battle victory from Ulworth. I remember he crushed quite the sizable army of Dale there. I think one of their last sizable ones. Because, I mean, they did have more armies at... Or they had, let's see, they had Dune, they had Esgaroth, and they had Ulasil at that time. Though I don't think the garrisons were huge or anything. I also see there's some battle markers up here, and I think both of these are Gislik. Indeed they are, defeating more forces of Erebor. And then Golgo has one up here. Again, I assume defeating Erebor. Yep. You see, this is why I feel bad, like, putting Gislik in charge of the backup army. He did so well for us. I feel like I demoted him accidentally. So if this campaign were to continue, I would definitely have to correct that and put him back in charge of the army again. Well, the main army and not the backup army. Now, there should be another famous battle marker. Ah, yes, here we go. Another one where we defeated Dale. And this time it was Golgo. Oh, wait. Golgo was... Oh, no, that was Erebor, yes. And I think this was actually our first battle against Dale. It was well before we were ready to invade them, too. This was when, like, the Dwarves of the Iron Hills were still around. And Dale just sent, like, a huge army into our territory straight to Redwater, and Golgo crushed them. Crushed them under his boot. I don't think there are any other famous battle markers until we get further south. Yes, now we're getting quite early on in the campaign here because we have Giznog, the legend. That's the first Giznog, and we lost him rather early in the campaign now that I think about it. Defeating the Dwarves of the Iron Hills. And I believe this one is Ulworth. Yes, Ulworth has many famous battle markers, and that's the same Ulworth as this guy here. Ulworth the Legend, as well as, you know, all these other famous battle markers we already pointed out. So this is... Ulworth is probably our most senior general. Like, the one who has been in command of armies the longest. He wasn't the Legend at this point, though. He was kind of like a subordinate, if you will, to Giznog. Or Giznog. I did get a few of my generals killed, and a couple of them I even cared about. Yeah, there are no more famous battle markers over here. I don't think there's really any over here. No real big battles were fought, like on this side. All right, and yes, I did notice Burr Paderijks is not happy. Not happy at all. I was training up another slave unit, and once it's finished, I'll probably... I mean, unless it dips below 70%, I'll probably destroy the slave building. I would do it now, but I want that last unit to get trained up before I do. Because then that will actually put us into the green. I think that would be 80%? Yeah, 80%. Yep. Alright, so we head over here, and we have our glorious faction leader, Magor the Kind, who has been here since essentially the beginning of the campaign. He has quite the governor's influence at this point, doesn't he? Yes, 40%. Makes sense. I think I have governors of Rhun. I do, yes. Roman and Balkoth. And I know Balkoth is only holding on because Imlach is there. Imlach, the faction heir, as opposed to Imlach, our general who's over there. Yep, look at that governor's influence. He's definitely the only reason this place is still even remotely happy. And as we come further south, obviously we've already talked about Maldim. Poor Maldim. who has never like been able to participate in a battle or govern a city. He just sits in the middle of the desert, presumably in a tent somewhere, and he's been sitting there for who knows how long, just recruiting Variags whenever they become available and sending them north. I mean, at least... Let's see, where is he? Uldor here, at least he has like what looks like green fields and, you know, trees. It might be actually pleasant camping out over there. And I mean, he is within a turn as well of like being able to go to a settlement if, you know, maybe he wanted a vacation or something, or just wanted to stay in a more civilized place, he could. But then you have poor Maldim. And actually, I mean, he's not far away from a settlement. It would take him a bit to get there, just 2 turns though. But no, he spends all of his time out in the middle of the desert recruiting Variags. Poor guy. We'll have to make sure his retirement is very comfortable for his service. All right, so anyway, now we head into territory that is not mine. So we have the Haradrim. We've conquered everything south of Mordor, as we expect. In fact, can I actually... Okay, yes, I can. Yes, so they've definitely conquered everything south of Mordor, and actually, I guess, technically south of Gondor as well. Most of their armies are here doing nothing. Nothing at all. I should probably specify this, but I believe the AI has a bit of a bug, and not just in this mod, but in other mods too, where they stop conquering if, like... Oh, what's the exact conditions? I should probably specify I don't know the exact conditions, but I believe it has to do with the super factions. And I think if factions get too big, too small maybe. You know what? I admit I don't know what the conditions are, but I think like factions will basically stop attacking each other after a certain amount of time. Maybe once they get to a certain size or something. But I think once they conquered all the rebel settlements, basically every faction just kind of stayed where they were and didn't really do anything. I think the next version, I should specify that as well. I'm actually on version 1.1 of the mod right now. 1.2, I think, is out right now. And I don't know if it fixes that. But I think I saw a message on their Discord that they'll have better campaign AI in the next version. Presumably that would be like 1.3 or something like that. So you can look forward to that if you're planning on playing the mod yourself. Though, I did have fun on 1.1, so if you wanted to try 1.2, you know, I don't see why not. Also, I have no idea when that 1.3 would actually come out anyway, so I had fun playing the mod, just to be clear, so I would definitely consider it if I was you. Yep, the Haradrim have conquered all over here, and then, of course, within Mordor itself, the Dark Lord reigns supreme with the exception of Orduga. Maybe I should have offered to give that settlement to the Dark Lord. And then, then I would have taken Thorenburg instead or something. I think, oh, it is a lesser settlement, honestly, I think, though. Because, oh, it's actually the same level, but it doesn't have as many buildings built up. Oh, well, anyway. Yes, as you can see, around the Lake of Rhun and around Barad-dûr here, many armies standing around doing nothing. Then we have Gondor, controlling Ithilien, as one would expect. Oh, for a minute there, I thought they had part of Rohan, but no, I think Calenhad would be Gondorian territory, wouldn't it? And some of these settlements look very impressive. Look at Pelargir there. Minas Arthur, Minas Tirith, Osgiliath. Oh, even Karandros looks like quite the formidable place. Oh, these are... I thought this was a fort for a moment there, but no, it's actually a city. Oh, I get it. I see. Karandros, its borders like right here, so it just controls like basically the river and that's it. Like no territory beyond it. Which I guess makes sense, because that is basically what the fort was for in the lore. Gondor is certainly well populated. Or, I should say, there's lots of settlements here. I remember conquering through Gondor in my 4th Age campaign. And I think it would have been fun to do it this time, too. Oh, goodness. Huh. Gondor seems to have neglected to conquer more territory in this direction. Oh, I wonder if that has to do with that bug, that problem where they stop expanding after a bit. Because Gondor has enough territory, and so they didn't feel the need to go any further. In fact, actually, looking at the map there, you know what, let's bring up the map here. If this is rebel territory, then I'm guessing all of this is too. Oh, no. That is a slightly different color. And you see how it says bandits here when I hover over it? And when I hover over this is Free People's territory. So actually, this is the same faction as, like, these few towns up here. Okay, well then, let's head north. Because we should come across... I see, Rohan actually has pushed into what I think would be Isengard and Dunlending territory over here. You know what, we'll get to that actually once we come down the center of the map. Because it looks like mostly rebel territory, and there's some Dunlendings over there. And here we go, here's the Free Peoples. It's interesting that they have all this territory over here, and then they have, like, just a few settlements over here. I almost thought they were a rebel faction at first, or the rebel faction, I should say. The one that's just kind of, that everyone's at war with, I guess. Oh, actually, that's a good point. Hold on a second. Let's see, if I go to... I haven't had to, like, look at diplomacy at all in this campaign, so I forget where everything is now. All right, yes, so you see, we are at war with the Free Peoples and also with just the generic rebel faction. Oh, okay, no, Gondor is at war with them too. And I assume, let's see, the Free Peoples are as well? Yes, okay. I thought maybe they weren't at war with the rebels or something, but no, they are. All right, so we head on, and we come across the elves. Or the Noldor elves. Oh, are there actually two elven factions then? We have Noldor elves, and we have Sylvan elves. Okay, yes, there is. They control all of their territory over here, and I assume these must be the dwarves. Oh, Ered Luin. Oh, is that the proper name for the Blue Mountains? Because I think that's what these are here. This is the Blue Mountains. So these are the dwarves of the Ered Luin, or the Blue Mountains. Oh, wait a minute. Ered... Oh, no. These dwarves are all from Ered Luin. It seemed like it looked different, I guess, when I was looking at it, but no, they're all from the same faction. The Free Peoples hold this territory. Oh, they hold Numinas. Interesting. All the Free Peoples hold Fornost. All this territory down here. And now we come to our allies, the realm of Angmar. Wait. Oh, Gundabad. It's Gundabad. The helmet of the Witch King made me think there was, like, it was Angmar. Which, I mean, they control Angmar. But I guess they would be, in this age, they would be Gundabad, because I think Angmar would have perished as a nation, faction, whatever you want to call them, in the earlier Third Age, I think. They fell when Arnor fell. All right, and so now, yes, they control all this territory here, and then across the mountains. Now we're back at the remains, the tattered remnants of the dwarves of Erebor. And back to my own territory again. All right, so now let's go down the center of the map, because we skipped over it. The map's too big. It's too big to go over it in one go. So now we have the Orc Rabble, who I guess are basically like the orcs of the Misty Mountains, right? Of course, we have more territory for the Noldor elves with Rivendell. And then the Free Peoples on the other side here. I guess I should just take a quick look at Mirkwood and the Sylvan elves. Yeah, they did bring all of their armies, like, deeper and deeper into the trees for some reason, even though, like... I don't know, it seems like they should have their armies on the border with us. I'm not sure why they decided to attack us that one time and then pull back. I wonder if we, like, destroyed enough of their armies that they now considered us too much of a threat, and so they pulled back. Kind of interesting. All right, and as we come further down, again, we have... I think we could see all this territory before, so not much in the way of news here, but... Orc rabble, again, kind of the dwarves, or the orcs of the Misty Mountains, in my opinion, but... And not allied with us. How dare you? How dare you not be allied with us? Does that mean they're not allied with... Let's see. Okay, they are allied with Mordor, and with Isengard, and with Gundabad. But not with us. Well, not with us or the Haradrim, and not the Dunlendings either. Actually, are the Dunlendings our ally? Let's see, allies. We have... No, actually they're not. We have the Haradrim, we have Gundabad, Isengard, Mordor. Okay, so the Dunlendings aren't on our side either. But I'm assuming they're on Isengard's side. Yes, they are. Okay, that makes sense. And I'm sure we could have probably gotten an alliance of them if we had moved, somewhat close to their territory. That would be a very interesting campaign for the men of Rhun to get all the way over here to next to the Dunlendings and Isengard. Speaking of Isengard, there it is right there. I think I kind of skipped over Rohan, because I passed through Gondor, so... Yes, Rohan actually has a lot of settlements, too. Some of these areas definitely have more settlements than others, and I think it would definitely make them far more difficult to conquer. Which, I mean, that's probably how it should be for some of these factions. I assume most of these settlements have the lesser horses and the horses resources so that they can actually recruit their horses. That would be kind of inconvenient for Rohan if they weren't able to recruit cavalry, or at least not recruit them very easily. And if we head north over here, okay, obviously here we have Lothlorien, or the Galadrim. They didn't really expand at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure... I feel like some of these settlements really should have been theirs. Presumably they lost them to the Orc rabble, or maybe they started off as rebels, actually, and the Orc rabble just managed to get to them first. Wow, we have Rohan all the way up here. That's unexpected. And of course we have Rohan over here, and we knew all about this, or rather Kimok knew all about this. I basically suicided him into Runost, and he was able to escape, and so then I sent him north to go through Mirkwood and through Dol Guldur to basically get over to this territory over here. And they charged into Mirkwood to go and get him. He barely escaped with his life. Right now, here we are back in, Mordor, Gondor territory over here. You can see the Argonath is there. We already looked over Mirkwood as well. Well, I guess that's it for the map reveal. I think we looked at basically everyone and every settlement and every region. So let's go ahead and start going through the saves. And we'll do the same thing where we do a map reveal and just kind of look over things, though I think we'll go through it a little quicker because otherwise this will take quite a long time. So we'll just kind of glance over things as we go through. All right, so here we are somewhat near the beginning of the campaign. This is the earliest save, but as you can see, we're on turn 19 here. I must have conquered a few settlements at this point, because I don't think we started off with, like, Varfest and Mistrand. I think we started off with Runair, Roman, Balkoth, and I think we might have started off with one more of these settlements, though, maybe not. I think we might have actually had to conquer Varfest, Mistrand, and Lest. We definitely had to conquer Kelapar and Kugavad. Well, you can actually see that I'm having to conquer it right now, but those started off as the elven settlements. Not under the control of elves, mind you, but they had elvish buildings, presumably because the elves once lived here. But at this time, they're controlled by mercenaries, Variags. Oh, that's right. Yes, that was why we decided to go and conquer the Variags. It's because they were supporting our enemies in our territory. Yep, that's definitely why that happened. Definitely didn't want, like, Variag troops for ourselves or anything. All right, and so now if we head south here... Okay, it looks like, yeah, we conquered Mataram, but we haven't gone south yet to take out the actual Variags. We haven't gone far north. Okay, so... let's go ahead and zip over the map here, and I'm going to bring up the camera here just so that we can zip through it a little quicker. Haradrim have started conquering in this direction. I assume they didn't start off with all these settlements, but of course there's quite a lot of rebel settlements here, so we know by the end of the campaign they'll have conquered all of them. Mordor has a surprising number of rebel settlements. And of course the Dark Lord will have them conquered before the end of the campaign, except for Orduga. Oh, that's right. Orduga did have a more significant name before I conquered it and changed it. I forgot about that. And we have Gondor here. Okay, there are some rebel settlements within Gondor here that they must have taken. I'm pretty sure they control all that by the end of the campaign. And then they just didn't continue in this direction. Dunland doesn't seem to have actually really moved at all. I think this is more or less what they held at the end of the campaign, too. I don't think... Oh, I might have skipped over Dunland. Or at least I didn't look at them too heavily when I was doing the map reveal at the end of the campaign, which is funny because in my 4th Age campaign, I played as Dunland. You'd think I'd pay a bit more attention. But we'll look at them again on the... once we get back to the end of the campaign again. Wow, rebel. Oh, this is all rebel territory. Well, the Free Peoples really expanded in this direction then, because I think they control most of this by the end of the campaign. And then the elves, the Noldor elves, control like this area over here. And again, the dwarves of the arid Rhun must have really gone on a conquering spree, because they've only got like 2 or 3 settlements right now. We know they conquer Numinas at some point, and they must have conquered all the rest of this too. Except for, I think Lond Nerniath was actually still rebel by the end of the campaign. And of course, yes, the Free Peoples, we already kind of looked over them. We have Angmar, or Gundabad. We must have... Oh, wow, they've only started off with like 2 settlements. They definitely have more than that by the end of the campaign. They conquer all this territory here, and I think maybe some of this down here. This over here. All right, let's just go down the center really quick. I don't think the Free Peoples really expand very much over here. I mean, they must take at least... I think they take that settlement, maybe. But then I think the Orcs actually take all of this territory here. And okay, so Roman Tirith actually started off as rebels, so that's why they were able to take it. They didn't actually attack the Galadrim. Did the Galadrim take any settlements? Maybe this one? I think this is a Rohan settlement by the end of the campaign, and then these couple here, I think, are Orcs of the Misty Mountains, and then like this one's Dol Guldur, I think. Actually, that one might be too. Or no, that one might be Orcs of the Misty Mountains. You know what, we'll have to check it. We'll check it. Okay, Mirkwood. Again, mostly rebel. We have 2 settlements belonging to the elves up here. They definitely take more than that, though not many more than that. They must have just taken these 2 here. Because this was taken by the Dwarves of the Iron Hills by the time we got to it. I think so was that. And again, these definitely weren't held by the elves by the end. All right, so then we have the Dwarves of the Iron Hills, who are actually doing quite a bit of conquering. I mean, again, it's turn 19, so they've had some time to move, but they've definitely moved further and faster than some of these other factions. Already come as far south as Bur Padarikes. Don't have any of this territory yet, but I think they also must start off with a few settlements, because they've got these 2 already. So these 2, I think these 2 are controlled by Dwarves of Erebor, so they must have conquered, or focused on conquering to the south, probably trying to connect their settlements up, which they definitely succeeded in doing. I don't think I took like any rebel settlements over here. I had to kick out the dwarves. All right, and so now here we are back at Mordor and my own territory, which we've already gone over. Oh, actually, the Dwarves of Erebor, I didn't really talk about them, or the Men of Dale, though I think Dale only takes these 2 settlements here, Grasgard and Lonsdale, because Northwatch was held by Erebor. And all these settlements to the south here were held by the dwarves of the Iron Hills. Meanwhile, Erebor, like I said, would have taken those two settlements in the Iron Hills. And then they would have taken some of these settlements over here. All right, but yeah, all right, I think that's it for this save. So let's jump a couple of saves forward here. All right, so I was looking at the sheer number of saves that we had to go through here, and I decided to jump not just like 2, but like 4 ahead. Again, just trying to get through them in a reasonable time. It has been quite a while, turn 46. And yet, I don't think I've moved as much as I thought I had. Obviously, we've conquered all the way up to here. Dwarves of the Iron Hills still hold their territory up there. To the west here, we've gone as far as Othlabed and Bur Padareiks. And it looks like currently we have Giznog, who will someday be known as the Legend, currently besieging New Rhun. Because remember, we changed the name of that one. And there's Olworth. Yes, his protege. He was in charge of the backup army for a while. That's right. Before he was eventually given command. Probably after Giznog's death, actually. And then he went on to have quite the illustrious career. Many famous battles under his belt. Alright, so now if we head south... Alright, yes, there's been no conquering in this direction. Have we started? Ah, yes, we've started putting together another army. Oh, and there's Ulasil himself! I'm pretty sure... Yes, I think that must be the same Ulasil. He takes command of this army and eventually goes south, though again, that has not happened yet. Alright, the Haradrim have conquered more and more territory. Actually, a fair bit. There's only like a few rebel settlements here and there. Of course, they then do nothing for the rest of the campaign. Mordor conquered basically everything that they will end up conquering as well. In fact, oh yeah, they've actually gotten as far as Thorenburg. So yes, I think this is basically where their conquests end, unless there's like just a random settlement out here. No, because they even have Neburka. All right, well, and then we have Gondor, which again, oh, okay, there's still rebel settlements here that they haven't taken. Don't they have these by the end of the campaign? I'll have to check that again. I thought they did. It's over here where they don't have any territory by the end of the campaign. Okay, all of this is still rebel. The Dunlendians haven't exactly moved very far. Rohan has. I mean, I don't think they'll move any further in the campaign because, oh wow, they've already got this territory up here. They've got Haldrith there. All right, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's not go out of order here. Yeah, I think Isengard, Dunland, and Rohan, and actually Gondor, and Mordor, and the Haradrim have basically gotten as far as they will get in the campaign. Others, however, still have some expansion to do. The Free Peoples, they've done some expanding, certainly, but they still need to take some more territory down here. I think the Elves do. The Noldor Elves need to take more territory over here. The dwarves have taken some. At first I was like, wow, did they not conquer anything? But no, they have. They've been moving. Still some territory over here that I think this is controlled, well, it's either the elves, the Noldor elves, or the dwarves with the Arid Luin. So, still some conquering to do in that direction. They do have a Numinas by now. Alright, and then we have Gundabad, who have interestingly taken like these two settlements over here, but still haven't taken like the rest of Angmar. And they haven't taken this territory either. Oh, that's right. I think the Free Peoples actually end up taking this territory here. They haven't done that. The Orcs of the Misty Mountains have left a couple of settlements, though I think a couple of these are actually still rebel by the end of the campaign, so I guess we'll just have to take a look at that. I don't know what happens to these two settlements. Again, we would have to check. All right, so now we come over to Lothlorien, and actually they did take a settlement over there. Baruch Meled. That's how I choose to pronounce that. Ah, okay, it looks like, yes, the Orcs of the Misty Mountains conquered all the way over here to Woodman Town, and then they conquered down south here, while Rohan was coming up north. And again, the elves didn't really do very much. I wonder if they lose that settlement, or do they have that one at the end of the campaign? I'll have to check that. All right, the Sylvan Elves have conquered all that they ever will during the campaign. Now, if we come up north, yeah, it looks like the dwarves of Erebor have conquered as far to the west as they're going to, and they definitely, hustled and got through here and got a bunch of settlements. For some reason, they seem to have ignored these, because even by the end of the campaign, those are still rebel. Oh, okay, well, it looks like the dwarves of the Iron Hill were going to try and take them at some point. They were still mighty at this point. They still had most of their settlements. Let's see, Dale. Yes, I think that's as far as Dale is going to go. And you can see Erebor has already taken Lar Huil, Doom, and Northwatch here. The dwarves of the Iron Hills, yes, they've taken everything. Well, they've lost some stuff here to us, but they definitely took all of the rebel settlements that were here. Now we are back in my territory again, back into Mordor, and then back into Gondor. Let's see, I don't think we skipped over anything. We remembered the Dunlendings too. I think that's basically as far as they're going to go. So some factions are already done by this point. But other factions still have a ways to go. So let's skip ahead again. All right, so here we are. We're at turn 60. We've skipped over, I want to say another 4 saves, though clearly things have slowed down by this point because, again, we skipped just as many saves, but we haven't skipped quite as many turns. Because I think we were at turn like 46 last time. So we haven't conquered any further in this direction, but it looks like Golgo is on his way to do exactly that. Well, I say he's on his way. We're still gathering up his troops by the look of it. There's probably, let's see. It's not that.
Orders?
Yeah, it looks like a couple of troops here. He's already got part of his backup army there. There's another one of his catapults. So yes, he's getting ready to go and attack the dwarves of the Iron Hills, but he hasn't quite gotten there yet. And there we go. There's another Warblade unit for him as well. Now over here, yes. Giznog is still here. He's still alive. We've taken New Rhun, but we haven't renamed it yet. We must have also taken Skara at this point, but then lost it, because I think we lost it like the very next turn after we had taken it. And I think this was when the campaign really stalled for a while, because Giznog and Imlock were basically spending their time just fighting off dwarven armies that kept coming down here to attack us. And it's quite some time before we're able to really start pushing back against them. Which is funny, because I don't actually see any huge armies from the dwarves of the Iron Hills. I mean, this one's quite large, but the rest of these aren't all that big. Well, I guess if you put them together, they're somewhat big, and they are gathering troops, so yeah, I think we are still smack dab in the middle of Giznog's war. Giznog's war with the dwarves of the Iron Hills, and soon though, it will be Imlock's war, I think. We haven't fought any famous battles here yet, so Giznog's greatest battles are still to come. Alright, so let's head south. Ah, yes, oh wait, that's Captain Golgo. Where's Ulasil at? Is this Ulasil? No, it's not. Oh, here he is. He's over here at Ubisesh. Alright, so he has conquered basically all of Khand at this point. I mean, I do consider this to be part of Khand, though it's kind of weird how it's just like this corridor here. Like, Khand probably like ends like, or begins right here. So this bit is Khand and then this bit isn't, but we will soon have all of their territory here. And this is probably the only battle where we ever fought any Haradrim. If memory serves, we probably just bombarded them to death and then shot them to death. as per standard procedure. And now Ulasil is using, of course, Variag units by this point. Alright, so now, again, we can just blaze right through most of these because, yeah, the Haradrim... Oh, I thought they had conquered everything, but no, it looks like they left one village there. Oh, and they've left a little town there as well. That's strange. I'm pretty sure they have all of this territory by the end of the campaign, but maybe there is just random, like, rebel settlements here and there. I guess I don't know, or don't remember. We'll have to check. Okay, right. Mordor is exactly as it was, except for, you know, all the armies are over here instead of up here. Let's see, Gondor. Oh, those 2 settlements are still rebels. And actually, so is all this over here. Though, I know this was all stayed rebel. But again, I didn't realize... Are these still rebel settlements by the end of the war? Or does Gondor manage to take them? I do not know. Okay, I think Dunland might have actually taken another one or 2. Because I don't think they had Austin Edhill or Dun Tang. Oh, I don't think they had Amon Rock either. Okay, so Dunland did have a little more expansion to do, I think. Rohan, I think, is still done. Like, I don't think they've expanded at all. And Isengard certainly hasn't. The Free Peoples. Oh. I thought the Free Peoples would make a little more progress, but no, I think they've made more progress over here. But they haven't taken any of this territory yet, and the Elves have definitely expanded over here. Okay, and the Elves take this territory too. Okay. They might take Aranath? Aranath? This place. Or it might be the Dwarves of the Arid Luin. And I think they've taken... I mean, they've taken a couple, I think, but their progress seems rather slow. Oh, I didn't realize they had conquered all the way up there as well. I mean, they're all doing decently well. Oh, did the Orcs of the Misty Mountains have this territory before? I don't think they did, or at least not all of it. Oh, it looks like the Free Peoples have come all the way up here to the Coldfells. That's pretty far. Okay, Gundabad is still working on Angmar. You know, chop chop. let's get on this, guys. I mean, we know by the end of the campaign they don't really break out of there, though. They've basically got... See, this settlement, Pravda, and maybe Framsburg, I think, by the end of the campaign, and then that's basically it for them. Okay, yeah, and the Free Peoples did conquer up to here as well, so I bet you they'll probably take this territory, too. I wonder why that's a question mark. Alright, well, anyway. I guess let's just head south again. Even though, yeah, nothing's really changed. The Galadrim still hold Baruch Meled. And I think we already talked about, yeah, I don't think this territory changes at all by the end of the campaign, and definitely neither does that. Oh, the Dwarves of the Iron Hills conquered Worm Cove at some point. Oh, that explains it. I think I didn't mention this during any of the episodes, but I believe Worm Cove actually had dwarven buildings, and I guess this is why. Oh, they became a rebel settlement because, remember, the way we killed the Dwarves of the Iron Hills is we took Redhall and killed the last of their generals, and so Angorodin rebelled, but they must have still held Worm Cove at that point, and so then they rebelled and became Orc Raiders. Okay, that explains the presence of the dwarf buildings there. Oh, they took Kirith Faden as well! This... You see, this is why I like doing these map reveals. You can find out more stuff about the campaign that you didn't know. Of course, and they probably would have continued conquering over there, actually, but by that point, they were... you know, deeply in the middle of a war with us, losing territory and losing armies, so it makes sense that they would not be able to send any more troops to continue that campaign up there. Elves haven't changed. Dale hasn't changed. Mordor hasn't changed. Okay, I think we're basically back to where we were before. All right, so let's skip ahead again. All right, so here we are, another 4 turns into the, 4 saves into the future, and it looks like, dang, I've already forgotten what turn we were at before, 60-something, I think, so we've skipped ahead a fair bit. Golgo has begun his campaign, it looks like. He's taken Redwater and Forodim. Where is Golgo? Oh, he's already taken Dorwinion and... Oh, whoa, whoa. Boy, that's Ulworth. Where's Golgo? Oh, here he is. Here's Golgo. Okay, yes. All right, yeah, so he took Redwater, Forodim, Dorwinion, and then Cardivan, and then he turns around and heads back and starts heading towards Borg. That's what we call it in the end. Yes, I remember I was kept worrying about how the dwarves were going to take Redwater, and I had just kind of accepted that that was going to happen. But they never did take it. They kept coming close, and then they would just leave. I see we've also fought our first battle with Dale, as Golgo has his famous battle marker here, where he obliterated that army of Dale. Oh, shoot. Pardon me for one moment. I haven't actually removed the Fog of War. All right, well, I mean, we'll come back to that once we're done looking over our territory here. So let's see, as we head further south, okay, yes, Giznog has perished by this point, and Olworth has taken command of his army. And actually, we saw him, didn't we? He was at Ara, and he is the legend by this point. Wait, is Golgo a legendary character? Okay, not yet. He has to fight a few more battles before he can become the legend. Imlach is over here as the governor of Askal. Well, he's the commander of the backup army, but acting currently as the governor of Askal. And it looks like Ulasil has completely finished the conquest of the Variags and spent quite a few turns traveling all the way over here. Because remember, when we last met him, or when we last left him, he was down here in Ubasesh. So he trudged quite a distance with his army to get up here to join the battle, or join the war against the Dwarves of the Iron Hills. And we definitely managed to break things, though, before he actually showed up. Because I don't think he's actually fought a battle yet. I think Ranavost is his first battle in the war against the Dwarves of the Iron Hills. So under Olworth the Legend's sterling leadership, the Dwarves of the Iron Hills were beaten back and their settlements taken. As you can see, we've retaken Skara at this point. Oh, I wonder when exactly he became the legend then, because he obviously wasn't down here. Though, I mean, maybe that battle is what made him legendary. Though, he must have... this was also where we suffered that terrible defeat at the hands of the dwarves, too. I mean, we had the troops to recover, but so many noble sons of Rhun perished on the battlefield that day. And honestly, the only reason the dwarves couldn't capitalize on it is because we managed to kill many of them as well. But Olworth picked himself back up, and so did his men, and continued on, taking Askal and Ara. And then I think many of the dwarven survivors went either to Askal, and like others who were coming to join them went to Ranavost. So Ulasil will eliminate them as well. And boy, does Ulasil have some harsh battles ahead of him, I think. Because Ranavost and Bur-Widu were ones that had just such huge garrisons that we ended up bombarding them, like with catapult fire and with arrow fire, like doing what we'd normally do. But because they still had so many units left, we couldn't actually just finish them off. Like, we had to retreat. I mean, that was partially also due to time constraints, because the bombardment takes quite a while. Yeah, and then I don't know if he takes Kaupabarg or not. That might be Olworth who does that. I think it's Olworth who does that, because yes, I think he conquers that and then he goes across the river there. All right, so now let's look at the rest of our territory here as we head south. Yeah, so obviously this is all done. Orduga was taken but has not been renamed. Yes, I can't remember when exactly I decided to start renaming settlements. I think it was around this time, though, because I end up renaming Skara, New Rhun, and Orduga. Well, and among others, but those were the first ones that I did, and they haven't been renamed yet. All right, I'm going to zoom up just a little more. All right, so here we go. The Haradrim. Have they taken absolutely... Okay, no, there's still a random rebel settlement there. Okay, they did take... I think it was Barazon was one that they hadn't taken yet. There's still a couple here, too. Okay, so they are taking settlements still, but very, very slowly. Again, there shouldn't be any changes to Mordor's territory, though they have... The Dark Lord has moved his armies north. Gondor. Any changes here? Oh, they took Minas Anghen. Yeah, because that was the other rebel settlement, but they still haven't taken Osarnen yet. And again, no one takes this by the end of the campaign. This is all still rebel. I don't think Dunland has moved at all, but they still held on to Amon Rock. So, yeah. I doubt they expand any further, but, you know, they're still alive, still doing well. Rhun is still exactly as they were. Isengard is still exactly as they were. The Free Peoples have now started expanding down here. There's only a couple of settlements left. Well, actually, I don't know if they take these, but I'm pretty sure they take these couple here at least, and maybe this one here too. Oh yes, and they've been expanding up here as well. In fact, did the elves even manage to take any more? They might have taken one or two more, but I don't know. I think the Free Peoples might have cut them off here. No more settlements for you. Huh, there's still a couple of settlements over here that haven't been taken yet either. I feel like they should be before the end of the campaign, though. That's all as it should be, or as it was, I should say. And yes, the Free People still hold massive amounts of territory over here. Actually, probably one of the larger factions, I imagine. At least in terms of just pure settlement size. Okay, and the Orcs of the Misty Mountains still hold this territory. I imagine they must still hold it at the end of the campaign, too. Alright, Gundabad, how are you guys doing? Alright, it looks like they've actually taken all of Angmar. Which is great, but I think they're basically stuck at this point, and they don't actually take any more. Oh, they did take Framsburg. Okay. The Free Peoples have Nimloth. There's still that Eagle's Eyrie there. I think these two remain kind of independent settlements until the end, or rebel, whatever you want to call them. Settlements until the end of the campaign there. Dwarves of Erebor haven't moved, as really expected. The Dwarves of the Iron Hills haven't moved. Again, they're at war with us and losing at this point, so it makes sense that they would have to focus down south. But now that I think about it, look at the troops they have up here. They have plenty of troops up here. That's 14 units, plus 2 there. Oh, that probably explains it, because I think at one point, the Dwarves of the Iron Hills, there's like a big army that comes down here. And I think it must be these guys here. That's where they came from. Again, Dale, no changes here. And then we're back to our territory again. And I guess I might as well glance at Mirkwood, though not much has changed. Looks like, yeah, the Dwarves have taken Berwidu. They have moved their troops a little closer, but not yet. They're not quite to the point yet where they start, marching on us, because, we haven't even really gotten there yet. All right, and here we are back in our territory. Again, I don't think I skipped over anyone. We talked about Dunland, Isengard. Okay, yep. All right, let's go ahead and skip ahead again. All right, so here we are, and we've skipped forward another 4 saves, and the turns are definitely slowing down, but more is occurring, I think, in each turn as well, because we've definitely made significant progress. In fact, the Dwarves of the Iron Hills are actually destroyed by now. I mean, not many turns ago, because we defeated them at Red Hall, and then Angorodin became rebels, so we took that. And it couldn't have been too many turns ago, I think. We've still got Golgo here. I think we're starting our encirclement of the Dwarves of Erebor. We have fought our first battle against them, because they held Northwatch, and we've taken that. I assume, yes. Worm Cove and Kirith Vaden are now rebel settlements again. Yes, back when the Dwarves of Erebor had quite sizable armies, and we really had to work to whittle them down. Alright, so now who's where? We have Golgo here, and I don't think he had a proper backup army ready at this point. I mean, he definitely had backup troops, but I don't think he had a general to lead them. Yeah, we get him a general at some point, but I don't know how much further into the future that would be. Oh, Kimok. I think Kimok here is the one who actually becomes his backup general here. Speaking of Kimok, where's the other Kimok? Is he started on his mission, quest, thing? I don't see him.
Sire.
Captain. Okay, he may not have started on his mission yet. Oh, no, wait, there he is, there he is. There's Kimok. He is 1, 2, 3 turns away from his first suicidal charge into the men of Rhun. So soon, very soon. All right, and Ulasil has taken Ronavost, Burwidu, and I assume he bypassed Barg, because at that point, I think Ulworth would have taken that. And actually, really quickly, yes, we have started changing names of settlements at this point, because obviously we have Barg, Borg, Skara, Nirn, or not Nirn, Nurun, or Duga. That makes sense. Now, where is everyone? Yes, here's Gislik at Northwatch. Imlock with a backup army at Grasgard. Here's another backup army that's going to be joining Gislik. I don't seem to have a general for them yet either, so I must have given him one at some point. We have crushed Dale. They're not destroyed yet, but very nearly. We destroyed their big army that was here. Ulworth, another famous battle. Took Dune. Oh, and then he headed north to take Dale. That's right, we took Dale before we took Lake Town, because there was hardly anyone there, so I sent Ulworth north to just bypass basically Lake Town and take Dale. And then we have Ulasil is going to take Lake Town. That'll be one of his last battles before the elves start pouring out of the trees. Filthy elveses. Alright, so now what else? What else? Well, I guess that's it on this front. And so now if we go down south, I mean, nothing really should change here. Maldim is standing his lonely watch here, recruiting Variag mercenaries whenever they become available. Alright, so now, Haradrim, what have you guys been up to? Alright, that's still a rebel settlement. But they have taken Ekorost. How I choose to pronounce that, but they haven't taken Gobel Merland. I'm now really curious if they take those by the end of the by the end of the campaign. Mordor, of course, hasn't changed. Gondor has not changed at all either. Okay, they still have not taken Osarnen, and they haven't conquered any further in this direction. I mean, again, I know they don't take this peninsula, but do they take, like, Saraland or anything before the end? Or maybe they just decide that this river here, this is the end of their territory, and they just don't go any further. Rebels. Yeah, Rohan, of course, hasn't changed at all. Isengard hasn't changed. Dunland has not changed. Yep, they're still holding on to Amon Rock there in the north. The Free Peoples... Okay, they haven't advanced any further here. They haven't taken these two settlements. I'm pretty sure they have this whole territory by the end of the campaign. They have moved down here, though, because I don't think they had Lond Dare Ened the last time we looked. Their conquest seemed to have slowed down somewhat, because they also haven't taken Uzbedum. Uzbeddum. I don't know. That's just how I'm going to pronounce it. Don't make fun of me! I don't think anything has really changed up here. Still have Azak, you know, that settlement. We have that settlement still. I think a couple of rebel settlements might have been taken here, but I don't know. I think it's probably pretty close to what it was. And again, nothing's really changed over here. No changes up here either. Yeah, I think this is going to be pretty much just as it was by the end of the campaign. Okay, so they really do hold on to that settlement there for a while, or maybe even until the end of the campaign, because it looks like the orcs aren't going to take it. Filthy elveses, filthy dwarveses. Okay, and now we're back in our own territory again. All right, but let's go ahead and skip again. I think we've only got one or maybe two more to go. All right, and here we are basically at the end of the campaign. We must only be like a turn or two away, because we've taken Felagsgard. We're about to take Worm Cove. In fact, we take Worm Cove on the next turn. So this is the turn before the campaign ends. So basically everything should be as it was at the end of the campaign. By this point, Gisnog, or not Gisnog, Ulasil is dead. We have fought many large battles and left many more famous markers by this point. And actually, I should point out, it's turn 118, which it seems like we accomplished quite a lot in these last turns, more so than we did in the others, because, I mean, we've eliminated the dwarves of Erebor, basically. Well, in this area here. Obviously, they still have territory over here. But, I mean, when we last looked, they had, like, tons of armies here, and they still held Erebor. And actually, the Men of Dale still held Esgaroth back when it was Lake Town. But yeah, I remember we basically had all of our armies like in a circle here, just trying to whittle down the dwarves as we advanced further and further. But I guess enough turns have just passed by that the encirclement was complete and they were destroyed. We have also must have already fought our war with the elves by this point too, because obviously, again, Ulasil. Ulasil. You know, as much as that war looms large in my mind, in reality, it was probably only like 5 turns, because like the elves came out and just attacked. And I want to say we fought 3 or 4 battles against them, and then that was it, and the war was over. Like, we never fought with them anymore after that. So, as much as, again, that battle looms very large, or that war looms very large in my mind, it actually didn't last for very long. We have Brogdor here, who's actually got his army. Remember, this is the last army we built, and they never fought a single battle. As we head south... Oh, I think I mentioned in the last episode that there was like a rebel force that Uldor fought, along with the like the slaves of Ara. There they are. I mean, that's not a very important piece of information, but I was passing by, so I thought I'd point it out. Again, nothing really to point out over here, just streams of, you know, mercenaries, both Variag and Easterlings, kind of moving forward to the front lines. There's still poor Maldim standing his watch. All right, so now we need to really see, how did things change? Did they find... Oh, I think they finally took it. Talath Bran. Talath Bran. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. They took it. They took it, and they took these territories too. Gobel Merland, I think, was the last one. Nothing will have changed here. Nothing will have changed here. Nothing will have changed here. Oh, they really never took Osarnen by the end of the campaign. Huh. And they never crossed the river here either. I thought they might take like one more settlement, but nope. That did not happen. Rohan. Nothing's changed. Well, that means Kimok has already gone on his quest and returned. Wow, a lot happened in those turns, because Kimok must be up here by this point. Where's Kimok? There's Kimok. Dang, you skipped forward 4 saves, and a whole lot has actually changed. Even though it doesn't seem like it's that many more turns. Okay, well, anyway. I think, now that I think about it... Actually, here, we can pull it up. We should be on this save here, I think. I did have... Well, no. I think this was the last save that we did. Okay. I don't know, I thought maybe I had played more or something, but it doesn't seem like I did. I don't know, I guess as we had more armies and as we got towards the end of the campaign, we just really managed to overthrow our enemies and crush them. Get more done in each turn. The Galatrim still hold Baruch held. All this is still as it was. I see the Free Peoples have gone further south here, but they still haven't taken that territory, so I guess they must not, or probably don't by the end of the campaign. Dunland still holds Amon Rock. Oh, and this still hasn't been taken. This still hasn't been taken. I guess there are just random rebel settlements kind of left at the end of the campaign. Obviously, that's not going to be different. None of this is going to be different. Oh, actually, they've taken Eagle's Eyrie. But they've left Hald in Heath. Yep, nothing's changed over there. And obviously quite a bit has changed over here, but we've already discussed it because this is our own territory again. The elves have been beaten back by the brave sacrifice of Ulasil and all the men under his command. All right, well, I guess I'm going to jump ahead to the very end of the campaign, and then we can talk about some other things like the economy and such, and all the other stuff that I said I would. But I'm just going to jump ahead to the end of the campaign just because I can. All right, really quick. This is the last save, and I wasn't really going to zip around the map here again, but I thought I would just to see if anything had changed. It looks like the free folks did take Malhot. So they didn't quite have all the settlements over here. They did skip that one. But everything else is as it was. All the same settlements haven't been taken. No settlements have really changed hands. The Galadrim still hold Baruch Meled. So, anyway. I guess now it's time to talk about some non-territorial stuff, like army composition. Though, to be honest, I don't think there's too much to say about the way I composed my armies. Basically, it would be, if I had my way, if I could have whatever I wanted, then it would be a general's bodyguard. Well, here, you know what? Let's find an army that more or less resembles what I'm about to say. You know, having a good visual look can kind of help. Okay, I think this is the closest to the sort of army that I would have. A general's bodyguard, 4 cavalry units, 7 melee infantry, 4 archer infantry, and 4 catapults. Now, I rarely had exactly those numbers. It just kind of depended, especially at the beginning of the campaign, when all we had was this territory down here. We had basically no cavalry. I think the first regular cavalry that we had access to were actually the Variag mercenaries. Well, the Variag mercenaries, and I think we somewhat quickly managed to get the scout cavalry available. Somewhat quickly. I can't remember when exactly. I want to say it was during. I want to say it was during the campaign against the Variags that we actually really used cavalry, because I think Ulasil had 2 chariot units and he had 2 scout cavalry units, and while he did let them go into the backup army in favor of like the Variag units as they became available. Because when he marched north, he had Variag units in his army again. But we definitely, this was our first use of cavalry, just because it's a little difficult to recruit them in this mod. I think if you have lesser horses, or I should say with this faction too, because I mean that also affects the cavalry you could have available. I imagine Rhun has easy access to cavalry, both in terms of their roster and also in just, you know, all of their territory has the lesser horses and the horses resources as well. But anyway, yeah, I think it was at that point that we really started using cavalry. And so prior to that, we just didn't have any, so we didn't use any. But we certainly had to fight cavalry because there were Variags in some of these places. Yes, it took a while for us to get cavalry, and I remember going, oh, how wonderful it was to have cavalry once we finally got some. Let's see. In the beginning, I definitely also was very heavily... I very heavily recruited Warblades. Just because I wanted their armor-piercing effects against the Dwarves of the Iron Hills. And we certainly kept using Warblades as the campaign went on, or at least we had them recruited, I should say. Because, you know, it feels like it's been a while since I've actually used any Warblades, and I think it's because of the many, many mercenaries we've been able to recruit. In fact, I should actually point that out, because, I mean, we already said Maldim is here recruiting Variags, and that was after Ulasil's campaign. But once we got to, let's see, I think it was around Askal. Actually, it must have been just north of Askal into Arad, when I noticed that we had mercenaries available. And the reason I have Uldor standing here is because this seems to be like a sort of almost a nexus for multiple recruitment pools. Because I could recruit some sellswords like over here in Cardavan and Dorwinian, and I could recruit some, I think, in like Burwidu. But if you stand here in Ara, you can actually like recruit from both of those mercenary pools. And so Uldor has been standing here and just sending sellswords north. And I think it was at this point where we really heavily were using mercenaries as our frontline units. I mean, we used mercenaries throughout the campaign, or at least as much as I was able to. But I do remember, like, early in the campaign, definitely having to use more of my own Easterling units. And I remember, like, even at that terrible defeat that Olworth suffered at just south of Askal, like, most of those units I seem to remember were Easterlings. I think we had some mercenaries, but I also think many of them were Easterlings. Whereas here, by the end of the campaign, the backup army is filled with mercenary swordsmen, as are the, or not mercenary swordsmen, sellswords, just mercenaries of every kind, really. But even, like, the regular armies also have mostly, like, mercenary infantry in them. And, like, we still have our Easterling units, like, around, but they're there as, like, backup now. Almost like, oh, well, I guess if we run out of expendable, I mean, brave mercenaries, then we'll throw in, you know, some of our Easterling units. And I feel like it was right around this point where that happened. I mean, apart from that, I don't think anything else really changed too much. Like when it came to the composition of our armies. And our backup armies, they always just consisted of whatever units were available. Depleted mercenary units, depleted Easterling units, just whatever we could use to either garrison a place temporarily, or even permanently, because sometimes we would leave, like, units behind rather than recruit new ones in the settlements. And, yeah, just any units that we could then throw forward into the fire as the campaign continued. Now, when it came to settlement development, honestly, most settlements, I simply just focus, like, we'll use Stena Westa here as an example. I would just focus on economy buildings first, then military buildings as I finished with the economy buildings. And when I say economy, I do mean, like, the market and the, like, slave buildings. And also, I guess, I don't see a farm building there. I guess we'll use Rhun as an example. Farm buildings, trade buildings. I'd focus on those basically in almost all settlements. But then once I was done with them, I would recruit build the military buildings, just so that, you know, when it came time to recruit the new army, or new armies, I did have, like, other settlements that I could go ahead and recruit at least some units in. I didn't have to focus so much on Rhun, Roman, and Balkoth, because these three were, like, the powerhouse settlements. They had all of the, you know, the buildings for increasing armor and, like, weapon quality. In fact, these three are the only three that have those buildings, apart from Ulasil and Esgaroth. So the idea is that, you know, when we recruit the armies here, they would have all of those. But of course, once we got a hold of Ulasil and Esgaroth and their, you know, their excellent buildings, I actually started to not care very much. Like, this last army, like, you see, we haven't retrained any of them yet. We were going to. This was going to be the last turn. You can see most of them don't have any improvements to their armor or weapon quality, just a couple of them here and there. That's because many of them were not recruited in those three settlements. They were just recruited elsewhere and then all gathered together here at Esgaroth. And I knew I could do that because then I could just retrain them all here and give them the better armor and weapon quality. And the reason for that was mostly just because, I don't know if I pointed this out at any point during the campaign, but if you look at these buildings, they actually lower your tax income bonus, and the higher they are, the more they lower it. Obviously, these places are still very wealthy and still providing us with a lot of money, but the point is that I didn't want to build them just anywhere. Like, you will not find them anywhere else in any other building, any other settlements, other than these three, like, really important ones, and these two here. What I would do is, as I would take a settlement, if it had those sorts of buildings, then I would just retrain my units if I could. And then the moment I was done, I would just knock them down. I think the only real exceptions for that were Angorodin and Nahald Kudin. For a while, I actually allowed them to keep their buildings just so that we could do a bit of replenishment, or not replenishment, increasing armor and weapon quality. But we definitely knocked those down once we were through. I mean, even now, I kept them in both of these two settlements because we just have so many units passing through here that needed retraining. But once his army is done retraining here, and once, like, maybe these units are done too, because they'll be here in another turn, I would probably knock down those buildings. Maybe here in Esgaroth, like, I would just get rid of them. And just keep them in Ulasil, because I really don't need them in both places anymore. Yeah, and I guess that's basically it for settlement development. Again, economy, and then military buildings once the economy was done, just so that I could train up units if I needed to. Though, to be honest, in most settlements, I really didn't. Oh, I should also really quickly point out that many of the military buildings actually do have positive income flow as well. Like, you see this armory building, you can train warriors and warblades and catapults, but it also does have a trade income bonus. So even if you have no intention of training units there, like, it's still worthwhile doing that. And I think it's the same, yeah, with the cavalry staples. Like, there's a trade income bonus right there too. So you're improving your economy and improving your access to troops at the same time. Not with the barracks, though. Not every building has that, but many of them do. All right, and now just a quick reminder of some of the, I call them quirks, but I guess I really maybe should call them more my preferences. I usually mention this in the prologue, but I guess it bears repeating in the epilogue, just as a reminder. But there's certain things that I don't like to do, like there's no auto-resolving in my campaigns. Even the battles that you guys don't see, like that little battle against the rebels here just outside of Arah, the one that I mentioned where Uldor and the slaves attacked them, I fought that battle manually. Just because, you know, I prefer fighting battles manually just in general, but also even with like small little battles, I do get enjoyment out of having like a small little force and trying to decide, you know, how I'll defeat that small little force. So even though the battles aren't very grand or really important to the campaign, I still fight them anyways, and I prefer it that way. Again, I don't show them necessarily to you guys because I don't think you guys would be very interested in watching them. I save the battles that actually have something to do with like progressing the campaign for you guys. Maybe if there was a very large rebel force that wasn't in a settlement, it was just kind of in the way of one of my armies. Like I'd show you guys like that one because that does contribute to the progress of the campaign. You know, one of my armies was stalled by this rebel force and he had to defeat them before going on. But most of the rebels who cropped up over here, you guys never saw those battles. And I don't even know if you saw any of them, to be honest. I don't think I ever felt the need to show you guys those. You would have also noticed that I also fight battles to the end. Like once that pop-up comes up that says, hey, do you want to end the battle now? That it's continue battle every single time. I think there's certain percentages, like if you defeat a certain percentage of the enemy in a field battle and you just end the battle there, that army is then destroyed and you could just end the battle right there. And I know that I could, but I consider like chasing down the enemy and, you know, defeating as many or killing as many of them as I can before they escape the battlefield to actually be part of the battle. Like I enjoy it in the same way that like I enjoy these small battles, even though it's not like really important. Like I could let some of them go, or again, maybe I've killed enough of them that the army will just be eliminated anyways on the campaign map and there's no point to killing any more of them. But I enjoy it. I consider it part of the battle to, you know, wipe the field clean of all the enemies that are there, even if there isn't necessarily a lot of point to it. And I could just end the battle. Now that all applies to field battles, but I feel it applies even more firmly to siege battles. Because there are times where you might be able to take the center of the settlement and like run down the timer and just win that way. Because then that message will pop up saying, you want to end the battle now. And you could end the battle while there's still enemies on the field and who are still willing to fight. And I hate that. I hate that you have to take the center of this, or that there's taking the center of the settlement, you're able to take it with just like a timer. I'm actually kind of okay with units routing back to the center of the settlement and then fighting you to the death there, because then it's kind of like, you know, the glorious last stand of, you know, the defenders. And that feels all right to me, but I don't like taking the center of the settlement without defeating all of the enemy. Now, that doesn't come up too often, because again, the enemy will route back to the center of the settlement. And also the AI is just really good about having at least like a unit back there. But there have been times, actually quite a few times, I think, where, like, for example, those dwarven settlements, we fire at them and we lure the units out of the center of the settlement. And we do then have an opportunity, if they start routing back, to just end the battle right there. But you'll notice I don't do that. Because again, we're fighting this to the end. There is no cutting this off, you know, because everyone's routing or something. No, we're fighting to the end. And again, that's just a personal preference. I don't think it... In fact, it probably makes things worse for the battle, because then they route back to the center of the settlement, and then you have to fight them or shoot them. So it's actually, I guess, somewhat of a negative, but I feel like that's how it should be, that we should fight to the last man, or the last dwarf, or the last elf. Okay, last thing to go over really quick, and thank you for sticking with me for this long if you did. But now I think we should talk about the mod a bit. I mean, it should go without saying that I like the mod. I think I already mentioned that earlier in this episode when I was talking about that one bug with the AI where they don't really seem to fight. And you saw it yourselves as we were going through the saves. You'll notice they just stopped expanding at some point. Even when there were rebel settlements available to take, they seem to have just like stopped at some point. But apart from that, I mean, that doesn't really affect me too much. Like, I don't care very much about that, simply because, I mean, you're constantly advancing. As the player, you're always like advancing into enemy territory. You're constantly fighting new enemies. So it's not really like a worry for me, I guess, if the AI isn't exactly doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, I would want that to be fixed, just to be clear. I would want that to be fixed. But I don't think it's like devastating to the campaign or anything. I mentioned earlier that cavalry is a little difficult to recruit in the mod due to the requirements of having lesser horses and, well, I guess just horses. Regular horses and lesser horses. In fact, some buildings... Oh, here we go. You see, I was hoping in the early campaign that Mistrand would be where I could recruit some heavier units, the Crimson Riders. But it never got that high. The population didn't get high enough, and so I never managed to get the Crimson Riders here. Oh, that's right. Mistrand also had Plague at one point. I forgot about that. That probably set us back a fair bit. We did actually gain the ability to recruit them, though, in other settlements. I think it was... Is it Podreikspark? Yes, we did. Problem is that they're so far away from the front line at this point. I mean, I could still recruit them and send them on, certainly. But, I mean, it's near the end of the campaign. We're so far away. I guess maybe if I were to continue the campaign, I would recruit a couple of them and send them north. But, yeah, we didn't get them quickly enough. Let's see, I think... Can Stena Westa train them? No, they cannot. I think they can if the settlement was high enough, but like Mistrand, it's not. It's not yet. Well, actually, Mistrand is high enough, and actually, if it had just been a couple more turns, we could have recruited them, but again... It's a little late now. Which is unfortunate. I did want to use them. So that's something to keep in mind if you play the mod. You know, cavalry are a little more limited depending on the faction. Again, I assume Rohan, like if you play as Rohan, you start off with all of these, you know, provinces that have lesser horses and regular horses. And I'm sure their roster includes many cavalry units, so you'd probably have a better time if you're a very cavalry-heavy player if you played as Rohan, but not so much if you play as Rhun or the Easterlings. Let's see, compared to vanilla, it also takes a while to train units. I think Roman is probably... Well, actually, I bet you Balkoth is the best example, because they also have the Wain Riders. And yes, it does appear this is the only settlement that can train them. I kind of flipped back and forth on the Wain Riders. I think someone pointed out in the comments that I wasn't using them very well, and I agree with that person. You know who you are. it was hard, I think, to really, like, I think they need some micromanagement, and I really, in some of these field battles, I would just be really confused going back and forth between different units, trying to get different units to do things. And I think I would leave my chariots to their doom, basically. But anyway, the chariots are very special units, so they take 4 turns, but even, like, catapults take 4 turns. And then, like, the red dragons take 3, the warbows take 3. A lot of units, I don't think there's any units, actually, that take just, like, 1 turn to train. Most take 2, plenty take 3, and some even take 4. Oh, I could have actually retrained those guys. I don't know why I always felt I had to retrain, like, these units here in the back. Like, it doesn't really matter. I guess maybe if we use them to pick off, like a rebel unit, I guess maybe that would be why. But I think this is also pretty normal for this mod, if my understanding is correct. Cavalry take more, or at least heavier cavalry take more. Bows take more. Catapults take more. So if you think you're going to need another army soon, make sure you start training right away. And also, as much as possible, like, spread out your training. Build up those military buildings, even if you don't think you're going to need them, just so that you can, again, spread that training around as much as possible to try and come up with an army quickly. Another thing I like to discuss, especially with mods, but even with the vanilla campaigns, I usually like to discuss crashes. Even though, to be honest, my campaigns are usually pretty much crash-free. I have like 1 or 2 crashes, I think, in each campaign. In this campaign, I had exactly 2 crashes, though only one of them I would attribute to, the game itself and maybe the mod. I think it was... Yes, it was a battle up here. When we were fighting Dale, I had to fight a battle twice. And actually, you guys would have seen both versions of that battle because I included both in the episode for those who wanted to watch both. The other crash we had was actually down here. I think it was Pashir. I had to fight that battle twice. But it wasn't the mod or the game's fault, and I think I mentioned that during the episode. I had, like, alt-tabbed out to... What exactly did I do? I alt-tab out quite a bit to check my footage, like, every time I'm done recording. Like, I go and check the footage to make sure, like, you can hear my voice, you can hear the game audio, things like that. But when I went to watch that video, my computer crashed, and I very foolishly had not saved before alt-tabbing out. I very regularly now save before alt-tabbing out. So it was my video player that had actually crashed the computer and thus the game. It was not like the game's fault. So I had 1 crash, just 1 crash during this campaign, and that was that battle up here. The other one was not the game's fault and certainly not the mod's fault. The only other thing I would want to mention is probably Erebor. Because obviously we had a lot of issues with this one. In fact, you know what? Since this is Rome Remastered, I think we can actually... yes. Since this is Rome Remastered, we can actually go down to the battle map. But yes, we had many problems with this battle map. I actually do like that it's unique and that you have to actually, like, destroy part of the mountain in order to throw more shots into it. Because remember, during those battles, we were able to open up holes in the mountain here, and then we could throw shots into the settlements. But boy, did we have problems with that. Basically, they would be well within range, and my catapults just couldn't do it. They couldn't fire at them. I assume maybe it just has something to do with, like, exactly where they were standing, because, like, we would be able to fire at them, and then they would move a little further away, and then we couldn't, even though they were still within range, and then they could move even further away, but somehow be back within range. And I think it's probably just because of, again, exactly where they were standing and, like, the holes exactly where they could, like, pass through, I guess, and actually hit them. We also, again, had many problems, and the AI did too, with actually entering and exiting the settlements, where, like, they would just, like, kind of trickle in and out. Like, the individual units wouldn't trickle in and out. Like, the men within a unit would trickle in and out, and that was a big problem. Again, both for the enemy and for us. And so that's why I decided in the end there to just besiege them. until they surrendered. Of course, we didn't have to wait until they surrendered because some dwarves came and attacked us, trying to relieve the siege, and so we were able to take it that way, since we were able to kill the garrison, basically. Oh, I don't know what that was for. But yes, that's the only other thing that I would keep in mind. And I should mention that I am on version 1.1. I mentioned that earlier, but I'm going to re-mention that because that's the sort of thing that could have been fixed by now. If not, then I might mention it in, or might have already mentioned it in the bug reports. Because you see, I actually managed to get pretty far ahead in this campaign. So the Erebor episodes haven't actually come out as of the time of this recording. So once those episodes come out, I might drop a bug report in the Discord there and use the episode as kind of an example for what was happening. Of course, they may also tell me, you know, oh, if you do this, it'll work. Like, there's something you need to do with your units to make them pass through here properly, and I didn't know what it was. But anyway, let's go back to the campaign map. All right, so here we are back on the campaign map. And to be honest, I think that was basically it. If you want like a summary of my thoughts, the mod is fun. Could go ahead and play it. And I assume it will get better as time goes on, as they fix some of like the AI issues and maybe a couple of map issues here and there. In fact, and I believe I've mentioned this already, I saw in the Discord that they had mentioned that they had something to improve the AI for like a future version. So by the time you see this, depending on when you see this, it may actually already be even better. Well, here at last, dear friends, on the shores of the sea, comes the end of our fellowship in Middle-earth. I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. Actually, I would say just do not weep, because it's not all that something to get all emotional over. I think I've mentioned in past campaigns that I'm always a little sad when a campaign comes to an end. But considering how long my campaigns go for, I'm also a little happy when they're finally over too. And I imagine you guys feel much the same way. And of course, there are more campaigns, both in the past and in the future for you guys to see, so it's not like we're going anywhere. All right, but in that case, I will let you guys go now, and I hope to see you in any of those past or future campaigns.